this next question has to do with our unit prediction tools. Triangle IP has a predictor that functions like most of them, in that it'll try and give you an idea on where your patent might land as drafted, and what those art units are, what their statistics are, the language that perhaps is drawing it in there, the concept that's drawing it in there, so you might change your path and focus in on something that's much more likely to get fair treatment at the patent office. So this question is what are the common mistakes to avoid when you're using these tools? Is no tool is perfect, and I think there's a belief in the industry that you can just change a few words around, and if you change these words, you'll magically end up in this better place. And these tools give you those words, right? And I think that's a naive way to look at it, in that, ultimately at the patent office they use some AI that keeps evolving and getting smarter, and then they have a human review looking at it. So you may think you've done a very good job of using different synonyms for particular words that are found in some of these other art units. Well, ultimately there's a tool that gives some suggestions and the human makes the decision. So really the better way to go about doing it is use these tools to sincerely select your ideas. Like when a client comes to me with the product, I'll often come up with a list of things that they could patent on it. And sometimes they're underlying the same feature that's so exciting to them. So there'll be something in the graphical user interface, the GUI, that makes things simpler, right? They're displaying data in a particular way, and the way that they're displaying it is very easy to comprehend, something like that. Well, you can't get those patents. The statistics are really, really poor on GUI patents. And, a lot of things have been displayed on screens over the years. So there's lots of prior art there too. But belying that, there's probably something that the engineers have done to structure out data, get a different data source maybe, filter things in a particular way, they reduce the noise. They're using a learning algorithm and they train it up in this way. All those things that I just mentioned have a much higher likelihood of getting a patent. So if you draft a patent, like I did one recently where what was crucial was they had this very good display of data, right? And it was from machine learning algorithm. But the key thing is that they were able to structure out data much more accurately when they did the training. So you didn't end up with a bunch of bad training. So we'll look at something that's done by AI. Well, sometimes the language just is not what you wanted, right? For a technical paper, it's written in a certain way. A poem is written in another way. And I was working on a contract that a client had drafted with an AI tool. And for some reason, the AI tool just felt like making things rhyme. And it gave one of the very standard paragraphs in the contract. It was almost like a limerick. And, maybe if you're training up your AI model to do legal contracts, don't give it any poetry, right? Don't give it fiction. How about we give it nonfiction, so it's not giving fictitious scenarios. So the whole innovation had to do with, and it wasn't that technology, but it had to do with feeding the right information to this model that you were training up and structuring in a certain way So you gave it access to lots of stuff, but at least you tagged it. And you could say, this is something you should pay attention to, and this is something that you shouldn't pay attention to, and where they got that data and how they cleaned it up. That might be the magic that makes that display come to life, right? And you can get a patent to a machine learning algorithm in a particular vertical, but you can't get one to a GUI. So a lot of people think, well, I just want the patent to the GUI, right? It just looks so good. It's right there on the screen. That's what I want. Can't you just give me words and I'll change the words and still get that? Well, you know, you can change the words. It might fool the AI, and I'm not sure if the AI is looking at the figures, but the human's going to pick up the case and say, look, I see, you know, most of your figures are of how the GUI works, and you're going to go to the GUI argument, right? So I think that's the biggest misconception, and it's pervasive, right? It's really easy. You get this tool and it just magically makes it so you can get a GUI patent. No, don't get a GUI patent. That's not a thing, right? You're just wasting your time, and you know, from my perspective, you're wasting your client's money because they're going to be very difficult to get. So I would say that's one of the common mistakes. Another thing to think about is that nothing's for sure. Like our tool and many tools will say, hey, look, I think it's going to land in some of these places, right? And you can angle and redraft and sculpt your approach to that patent, especially early in the process. So you're more likely to go to some of the more favorable places. But it's just kind of a guess. You don't really know. Their AI tool is evolving, and there's a human involved. So what I'll tell clients is like, look, the best I can give you is about 85% chance that I think it's going to go to a good place. And when you look at where it's likely to land, try and get more of those to be a good place. And certainly the ones that are more likely to be a good place, and the things that are bad places to land, hopefully they're lower on the list and less likely to happen. And really think about the technology that those art units handle. And then, you know, maybe it doesn't even make it into your patent application, right? Why waste your time? So I would say those are the common mistakes. So my advice is, early in the process, start working with these predictor tools to help you guide in the right direction. And you can go after some sort of blocking technology that blocks, back to my example, the GUI. If you don't have the structured data that's done in the proper way, the GUI is not going to mean anything. You can still protect that thing that the client came to you with and was so excited about, but you're several layers down in the technology stack, some sort of an enabling feature. And it's just as good a block as the GUI. It's just you're wasting your time. So don't fixate on that. Just move on. Go after something else. Every product has, you know, several or a dozen things that you could file a patent on. Concentrate on something else, and you're going to be much more likely to get a patent in a predictable way. So I hope that answers the question. You can leave your comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.